Welcome to another edition of Illegitimate Intellectuals. It's your girl, Miss KK, back at it again. And today's topic is you ready? Is you ready for round 2 of the Rona? So grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your water, and let's talk about it and see what's really good. Let's chop it up. It started to come up in the news, and I feel blessed to be insightful enough to have known that this was going to be coming around the corner. It means that my eyes were open and that I was actually paying attention, because it seems to be on the forefront of the mainstream media's headlines, and that is the second wave of the Ronas. Everyone, at least back in March, when everything kind of first started popping off, started to really realize how ill prepared we all were for something like this. If you have grandparents, certainly if you have parents who are above the age of 40, they're able to confirm that never before, never have they seen in their lifetime anything like what we're currently experiencing, which is the whole world being locked down under the same premise, and everyone is discussing or disclosing what is happening in their respective city, state, area, country. It's very unique times that we live in, to say the least. And at the start of this, I know a lot of people were frustrated when they were trying to get very basic, or what seemed like very basic, items like toilet paper, hand sanitizer, things that you really didn't think too much about became rarities. You could go to the store multiple times in a week, in a month, during the first 60 days, and it would be difficult to get your hands on those things. Bleach, ammonia was even hard to come by. All of a sudden, people started to remember chemistry, and they were grabbing items that they knew to be disinfectants, and they were hard to come by. And it seemed like some people just couldn't get their arms around that. They couldn't get their mind around the fact that there are certain items now that you should have, especially if you're a parent or if you're of a certain age, even if you live by yourself. I think people are starting to realize, or have come to realize rather, that there are some items that are necessary for general preparedness. And the more I started to think about that, I started to think about the demographics and the need of certain items based on the demographic. And so people who are quote unquote poor, which ironically is a great majority of the population, even before the loss of jobs due to Corona, because so much of the population rather is living under the poverty line. When you're just trying to live and survive day to day, the things that you want become inconsequential in light of, just needing to eat or keep cool or keep warm. And then I think about what are necessities based on where your location is geographically. Like if you're in an urban or a metropolitan area where you think it would be easy for you to get your hands on certain things, as opposed to being in the country or being from a certain area like the Midwest in the South. I'm originally from the South. I grew up in the South, and we always prepared every year for hurricane season. And we prepared by having like kerosene lamps and candles, batteries for things that don't even need batteries. Like, someone was surprised because they saw that I had like a 9-volt battery in my house, and there's probably only 3 items that are still made that require a 9-volt battery. But nonetheless, I have that because my upbringing kind of mandates that to some degree I have what would seem as a useless item in everyday life becomes something of importance when you least expect it or when the least expected thing happens. And so in that way, geographically being from the South prepared me to some degree to have some items on hand. I also think people of color, because they come from areas or their families come from areas that have suffered loss. Some places are still considered third world countries to this day, that they have a different mindset. You know, we in America live under the impression that we will have indefinite surplus or indefinite supply of everything. Like we just feel as though we'll never run out of anything. And if we do run out of it, it's because we don't need it and we're America. And so other people from other nations, they lived under different type of political regimes and they kind of understand lack. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she just passed away last year. So she was alive during the Depression. And to be quite honest, being a Black woman in South Carolina, her whole life was the Depression. There was no difference. And so that taught her how to survive and thrive because she had nothing to compare it to in an environment of lack or having less than. And so that kind of makes me feel like some people of certain backgrounds, certain age groups are more prepared or better able to cope with preparedness. You know, millennials, Generation X, Y, baby boomers, all of these people, whether you're in an urban, metropolitan area, country, all of these things, I think, have a bearing on one's ability to be prepared. And so the good thing is, even though I'm not quite sure what the Rona really is, I do believe that the second wave will be more legit than this first wave. This first wave is a drill. And so you need to get ready. You need to use the practice for what it is meant for. And I found it interesting that the Trump administration gave stimulus checks to people that they deemed to need it, which were people that made a certain amount of money or did not make a certain amount of money. And so I wonder how many people who were caught with their pants down at the beginning of this, not having any bleach, not having any antibacterial soap, hand sanitizers, or anything else that you feel would be of necessity in this type of situation, if they really use that stimulus to prepare themselves. And if not, then we should think of things that we do need, that are absolute necessities should things really go all the way down. And we know that the government, the powers that be, they, quote unquote, they have something in the pipeline. They have something planned, and we should be prepared. Now, for me personally, I mean, I'm kind of hardcore about it. I have a lot of time late at night when I am suffering from insomnia to really think about the things that I wish I had gotten and the things that I'm like, I'm absolutely going to have this so that the next time something pops off, I'm going to be ready. So I was having a conversation about what people were doing during their quarantine. And I had a friend of mine who actually makes candles, like he makes scented candles, and he was dabbling with making soaps and stuff like that, which is a great way to kind of occupy your time and learn a new talent and skill while you're kind of locked down, but also think about the money that you'll save and the fact that you'll have something to bathe with. If something really goes down, you'll have a surplus of soap. At the start of this, I was like, I need as much body wash and lotion as possible. Naturally, because I have so much of it, I'm now using it, and my feet and elbows have never been so moisturized. But it is a good thing to have a surplus of that. Now, also, as a woman, I think about feminine products. Like, what if all this crashes down and I won't be able to go to the store anymore and get the things that I need? So, I kind of went ham and got a whole bunch of those things because you never know. And it's not as though you're not going to use it. I mean, all of the toiletry items, you need to have a surplus. Lotion, soap, feminine products, toothpaste, toothbrushes, floss. I know some of y'all cats don't floss as it is, but get you some floss, because when there's nothing else popping, the internet's not working and there's no electricity, you're going to need something to do with your hands. So floss. Deodorant, and of course the things that we took for granted that we didn't stock up on that we felt were a necessity after the fact, like hand sanitizer, toilet paper. When there's stores like Sam's and Costco's and BJ's, why don't you have a 24 pack or a 48 pack of toilet paper just to be obnoxious and stash it someplace? One of the items that I use daily also that I think contributes to me not getting sick, even before all of this broke out, was peroxide. It is the whitening ingredient in toothpaste, so it's okay for you to do this, but I usually gargle with peroxide every day. I pour it over my toothbrush before I use it, so that helps. And of course, if you have wounds or anything like that, mouthwash, baby wipes, baby items for your little one, baby food, things like that. We need to be prepared and have these things. But also, I realized how short I was on household goods. And I already don't like washing dishes. Not that I'm not domesticated. I'm very much domesticated and I know how to wash dishes and all that. I just don't like it. So having paper plates, paper cups and utensils and things like that, paper towels, these are all things that, again, you take for granted. But when you don't have them and you don't have the ability to go to the store to get any more of them, you'll wish that you had done that. You'll wish that you had more of that. And again, to the point that I was making before, when all of this first started popping off, that bleach and ammonia was in short supply. I mean, even white vinegar was hard to come by. And I use that to even clean my food with. Like if I have chicken or pork or anything like that, I'm cleaning it with lemons, limes, and vinegar, all three of them. And I'm cleaning my food. So I think we should stock up on those types of things. A gallon of vinegar is like $2. And you can use that to disinfect not only food, but also if you really need it to clean something, it does work. Ammonia. Bleach is back, but I've noticed that when I go to big stores to purchase it, they no longer have it in the large size. Like you can't get a gallon of bleach. And we have to be careful about bleach too. If it's the no splash bleach, if it's lavender or lemon scented, it is not going to kill bacteria. All right. So you need the straight up authentic or OG status bleach that has nothing in it but straight whatever bleach is made out of. So you need that. Those are good items to have on deck. And I don't think that, again, it's something that won't be a waste of your money and time to get, because you can always mop your floors with it. You can wash your clothes with it. And also to the point of like just washing things, deodorant, brushing your teeth, laundry detergent, baking soda is a good alternative. So if you feel like you don't want to spend too much money on these things, you can always get a giant box of baking soda. You can brush your teeth with it. You'll be able to wash your clothes with it, your body. This past weekend, I went to the store looking for Lysol spray and the shelves were bare. And I want to say this was like a super Walmart. I don't like endorsing big stores like Walmart, but that's where I was at. And it was a super Walmart because I went there for the purpose of getting cleaning supplies. I just knew they had it. They had milk, they had juice, water was in high supply, bleach was in high supply. They did not have any other like spray cleaners, no bathroom cleaners, nothing that said kills 99.9999% bacteria. None of that was on the shelves. The Most High had me take my time and stay put for a little bit. And after everyone else had left the aisle, I bent down and looked at a certain shelf and I happened to find 2 bottles of it, but they were the last 2. So it lets you know that those are items that people are trying to hoard just in case. So just as a heads up, prepare yourselves and get as much as you can of Lysol, the air spray, the aerosol, and anything that disinfects. Spick and span disinfects, y'all. There was none of that. Again, anything that you don't have to mix with some plastic gloves or latex gloves on. And that's another thing, latex gloves, you should have it. And I'm not saying that you go outside and you touch doorknobs with latex gloves, because my belief on that is on another level. I'm just saying, if you're going to clean meat and clean your house, it's good to have those latex gloves for those purposes. Also batteries, of course. I have a toddler and almost everything I buy for him requires AAA or AA batteries. But things like flashlights and other things would require different batteries. So make sure you have a large supply of D batteries, like I mentioned before, the 9-volt batteries. And of course, because most things do take the AA batteries or the AAA batteries, you got to have you some of them. Okay, get you some of them, get you some candles, some flashlights that you can put the batteries into. I like the old school lanterns. I know it's kind of difficult and it can be a fire hazard, but they, to me, are a little bit safer than like a freestanding candle. And I know some people are just lighting scented candles and calling it a wrap. But again, those things run out. It's always good to have a surplus of those things. And if you're burning the candle, Monday through Friday, just because you want to sip your wine and eat your food with the candle, then have emergency candles set aside. I was in the South when Katrina hit, and it was very sad to see how people fared in the streets without being adequately cooled. I mean, some elderly people and sick people died from heat. So it's a good idea to make sure you have some type of cooler on deck. If y'all fish, if you hunt or anything like that, y'all got a cooler. If you got a pickup truck, you got you a cooler. So if you drink burr, you got a cooler. So if you don't do any of those things, purchase yourself a cooler. You can get a really cheap, knockoff styrofoam cooler, but you need to have something that keeps things cool, and it will keep yourself cool. That's the end of this week's episode, y'all, but join us next time for another edition of Illegitimate Intellectuals. It's your girl, Miss KK. Like, comment, and subscribe. Illegitimate Intellectuals, y'all, and I'm out.